Alright you guys, welcome back to another video. Today we got a reaction of Inside Star Citizen mission statement. We're going to look at cargo missions. And this is a big deal. This is a major change to the game. In my opinion, long awaited change. I might chop this video up to kind of move past some of the talking parts and let you guys hear my feedback on what's going on. But without further ado, let's get right into the video.
Blockade Runner is an event that focuses on cargo hauling and space combat.
The inhabitants of a station ask for aid. The bad guys have blockaded one of these stations, and the citizens there need help to get certain supplies from outside to go back in.
Okay.
The idea with it is that you would have someone who flies a cargo ship and loads up full of cargo, and then have a bunch of escort ships that help fight them. However, the way they now have to get the cargo means they have to actually go and extract it from pirates who have taken it from the station.
We wanted to make a cargo-based event because a lot of our current events are really heavy on combat, and cargo's been kind of underutilized on the global event.
Okay, so we have some of the new cargo containers here. I like that so far. And they're talking about, you know, a lot of the missions being combat missions and wanting to add cargo. This mission still seems like it has a lot of combat to me. But let's keep going. Let's see what they say.
Scene, and we thought it would be fun to work that into our usual design.
The response we saw from Xenothreat, when we first put Xenothreat out, we really liked when we saw players working together in kind of like a Dunkirk type moment where one person had pulled up, just opened the ramp, a couple of people had cleared the wreck already, and then they're all just throwing cargo into the back of someone's ship. They don't know this person. They've not talked to them, but everyone understands their role in this space they've created.
Yeah, working together in Xenothreat is really good. But I have to say, what I like about Xenothreat is the phases. So you have kind of an opportunity between the combat to kind of do what you gotta do, move the boxes around. This seems like it's a little bit more hectic. But let's keep going.
And there's people who are flying above, sort of also protecting against the waves of Ninetales that were coming to the wreck. And it was just this beautiful mix of people who just all kind of knew exactly what role they fit into and asked no questions and just got the job done. I'd like to recreate that feeling in its own event. So the flow of Blockade Runner is when you start the mission, you will receive marker points of potential sites where a pirate could be that has stolen cargo from the station that's requesting its return.
I like that.
A hostile enemy force has attacked one of the LEOs throughout Stanton, and they've stolen a great deal of Zeta Promenade from it.
We get another look at the new boxes. Again, I like this design. It looks like it's some kind of liquid container box with a metal cage around it. Makes it feel, I don't know, more immersive, I would say.
This Zeta Promenide's been shipped out, it's being carried away, and the remainder of the enemy force has stayed behind, surrounding the LEO in a blockade. It's up to players of the verse to chase down these enemy ships that contain the stolen material, defeat them in combat, reclaim the material.
Either via the use of distortion weapons to make sure you get every piece of cargo that's on board the ship, or via killing it and maybe getting less, but you run less of the risk.
You just soft death the ship. You won't lose any cargo if you soft death the ship. I don't think you need distortion.
Of dying yourself.
Once they do recover the stolen material from the ships scattered throughout space, they'll have to make their way past the blockade and return it to the LEO.
There will be ships flying around that you have to actually disable while trying to land, or else you could lose all of your cargo.
Either way, their goal is to land safely at the LEO with the stolen material on. And once they have that, they get to use our fancy new cargo elevator mechanic to return the stolen cargo to the station.
Nice.
The reward for Blockade is based off of participation. There will be, similar to Xenothreat, there'll be a bar that fills up with contribution, and every time that bar kind of ticks over, you'll get a payment, and then you'll get a big chunk at the end when all of the SCU amount of cargo has been retrieved back to the station.
Okay.
So
yeah,
to get
I like
all of
that.
the cargo, I'd recommend using distortion weapons and boarding the ship. This way you can ensure that you get everything out of the cargo hold. Whereas if you do it the other way, you know, you go from this 100% sort of loot to maybe 30%. There's going to be a big difference to encourage a different
Why does he keep talking about distortions? like
type of gameplay that players aren't really used to playing in our game.
I think a lot of the game loops in our game are a bit drawn out, and I like to think that you can get into the action pretty quick with this, and it's a relatively tight game loop, all things considering. I hope people will be able to jump in and out of it as they see fit and have a good time.
In addition to Blockade Runner, we're also adding a bunch of hauling missions that also utilize the
okay, now this is the big thing that is coming with 324 that Evocati is testing right now. This is the major change that is coming to the game that is going to completely rework how inventories work and how we interact with the physical cargo of the game. There's been a little bit of controversy. Some people think it's too tedious. I think that this is going to really set the tone for the entire game. At the end of the day, this is the direction that CAG wants to go down, and I think that this is going to make it feel like a real game. So let's see what they say about these missions and how they actually work.
freight elevator and instance hangars we're going to get.
Okay, so we can see the UI screen here. This is the freight manager. So again, kind of have the warehouse on this side, and the elevator says up here on this side. Arrows to have it lowered and go up. Move to elevator, move to warehouse. Seems pretty straightforward. Again, I'm not Evocati. I haven't tested this out myself. You got filters up here, so you can filter through the stuff. The SCU capacity, and I do know that there are different elevators that have different SCU capacities there. And so yeah, you can see the elevator capacity here is 120 SCU, but the storage capacity is 1,000 SCU. Okay, so storage capacity at this warehouse, I don't know where they are, if this is a station or something like that, but this particular location has 1,000 SCU. And what CAG has said a lot of times is that the numbers that you see on ISC are usually not final, so we're not entirely sure if this number here changed or not, but fairly certain that a lot of these elevators, the smaller ones at least, are going to have about 120 SCU, so that's not bad. That's pretty decent. Let's keep going.
With the introduction of freight elevators, we can now make missions that we were never able to make before.
Up until now, we haven't really had any missions which allow you to use your cargo grid. You won't have to go to various different parts of a station or find a ground station to get your land vehicle. You'll be able to get everything you need for your trip organized in one place.
That's huge too, being able to just bring up your ground vehicle from the vehicle elevator, park it to the side, then bring up your ship, drive the vehicle on your ship, and go. That's going to be a huge quality of life improvement for a lot of people. See here, transferring cargo from the elevator to the warehouse, and it says transferring to hangar here. And I think it's pretty straightforward.
Now I can just go to my hangar and there's an ASOP terminal in there, and I can watch my ship go down and come up, and I can have all my boxes out. The ability it gives me to build the missions that I love is insane.
So for me as an economy designer, freight elevators means that I can reward players for new game loops and different types of activity that they have.
Okay, so I want to also say something about this screen. This could
Reward players for new games.
So apparently the word is that, from Evocati anyway, is that these items, when you transfer them, they don't get transferred in a box. They get transferred just as the physical item, laid flat, attached to the cargo grid of the elevator. And you have to essentially manipulate these items manually. So if you want to get, bulk of these weapons, or let's say you're playing an org or something like that, and you want to take out 20 guns, you'll just have 20 guns sitting on the floor of your the cargo elevator. So what a lot of Evocati and people want CAG to do is to enable you to essentially use this screen on the side here like an inventory, where you can stack this stuff and move it to a box, and then move that box over to the elevator. And then once, you know, the elevator comes up, you can interact with that box kind of like a loot box and move that stuff to either your character or whatever have you. Okay, so I think for now, if you're dealing with this FPS stuff, you're probably gonna want to use the item banks or kiosks or whatever they're calling it now, and gear your character, and then kind of just use this warehouse for cargo and vehicles or larger things like you know, that trolley or something like that, furniture, decorations for your hangar. But this like smaller FPS stuff could get tedious if you're moving it one by one. Now, I do think that CAG, you know, will add a box in the future if that's the type of feedback that the player base, you know, continually gives them. So if you guys want that from this interface, for, you know, again, it's just like stacking. We gotta let CAG know, give them the feedback, go on Spectrum, go on Reddit, ask the devs if that's something that we can get.
Game loops and different types of activity that they haven't been able to fully play before, such as loading and unloading.
Yeah, so you kind of see it here is that you got core armor, kind of like how the boxes are. So if you get that stuff out of your inventory, it'll show up like this, physicalized. And again, that could be kind of tedious, having to grab all these boxes and equip it and move it around with tractor beams and put them on little trolleys. Not everyone's going to be super into that. The inventory UI screen is just a lot easier. Now, again, what I've heard is that you can transfer that stuff from the item banks a little bit easier. Is that you have that screen where you transfer, and then it pulls you into kind of like the old screen. Again, Evocati could really just explain this stuff. They can't really show us what it looks like yet because of the NDA, but again, I think that's kind of clunky, and I hope CAG can just make it so that you can do everything in this interface and just like have your loadout brought to you in a box, and then you look at that box, hit equip, and it's just all on your character now. In my opinion, that would be like the ideal situation where you could make loadouts in this screen, where you can put items in boxes in this screen, where you could actually do more things in this screen, so you don't have to physically move these boxes around. But if you wanted to, you could have just your core armor delivered or just your helmet delivered. But if you wanted to just get a whole loadout, you could get a whole loadout by attaching all of those things together in the screen, if that makes any sense. But again, it's just the first implementation, kind of like the tier 0. I'm sure in a couple of months, in a couple of patches, those features could get added.
Loading your cargo, figuring out logistics, and actually allowing players to monetize that effort and get a suitable reward for it. So the more time and effort that it takes to use the freight elevators and do the hauling missions effectively, the more opportunities I have as an economy designer to find the appropriate rewards for players for that game loop.
Yeah, that was another thing that there was a little bit of drama about, is the effort versus reward. And again, what CAG says that the numbers shown on SCL, Star Citizen Live, and Inside Star Citizen, those numbers are not final. They're just kind of, you know, placeholder stuff so they could show us how the system works.
Let me give you some examples.
Okay, now we're going to see the mission. Let's lock in, you guys. This is it. This is cargo missions.
You find a mission where a few different outposts on the surface of Hurston have mined some iron, and you've got to bring it up to Lorville, where then it can be transported further from there. So you go to each of these outposts.
And again, you could see these outposts with the new elevators here that we saw in a sneak peek a while back, and people were telling me no, that's not what that is. You see, I told you guys. You have two here on this pad, so you land your ship. You can see another one back here as well. They'll be kind of at the corners of the landing pads or outposts. And again, people are kind of concerned about these things because someone lands down here, this taking time to load these up, a pirate shows up. Okay, you guys got to think these locations are armistice zones, and realistically what people are going to do is they're going to back right up to this door. Okay, so there's not that much space in between them, and then they're going to try to load up as fast as they can. Obviously you can try to sneak aboard, and then once this ship flies away, kill the pilot, transfer the cargo to your ship, sell it, yada yada yada. That is possible, but that's kind of possible now. If somebody's buying cargo on these outposts, you could sneak on board and do so. I don't think that really changes because these elevators are outside. At the end of the day, as a cargo hauler, doing a once over on your ship once you close the door is kind of standard. People that just go straight to the pilot seat, you're looking for trouble. Every time I'm at a location, I check all the rooms on the ship before I fly away to make sure there's no stowaways. That's just kind of standard procedure. If you're not doing that, you're asking for trouble. Again, play smart and you won't have to worry about a lot of those things. But let's keep going.
Outpost. You land at that location, and there, in the warehouse of that outpost, those containers will be waiting for you where you can call it up through the freight elevator.
I like it.
You load it up into your ship, and then you figure out what the
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like, why did he park that far away? Nobody's gonna do that.
next location is, and the next location, and the next location. And you can basically do those in any order you like.
You'll have single pickups, single drop-offs, so this could be picking up from the LEOs around ArtCorp, the Lagrange points, for example, and taking it to Area 18 or to Beijing Point, the station above. Then you'll have a multi-pickup and a singular drop-off. And then the opposite of that, which is singular pickup to multi-drop-off, could be the complete opposite, where you go from a Hurston DC to two other outposts delivering goods. It also lets us do a first static setup of what is being called.
Okay, this is like a different kind of cargo elevator too. You can see the little terminal over here. It's like some kind of open air elevator.
StarSim, where we can test out the flow and then actually make the dynamic side of it work, where we can balance it based off of the needs and wants of the actual locations.
Okay.
The work that I was involved with missions with Yorit.
Just look how cool that looks with the elevators there, with the Corsair coming into land, the atmospheric fog. And this game is beautiful sometimes, there's just no words to describe it. This is the space game we've always wanted, you guys. I'm telling you right now.
Was to use the EVR algorithm that I created to make sure that all of the effort that you put in has a commensurate reward. EVR stands for effort versus reward. The EVR algorithm is a general...
You know what? I just want to say I like this dude. I think he's trying. He's making an effort. And that's what we need right now. We really need somebody over at CAG that's making an effort, that really cares about this stuff. I've been saying this for so long in the community, how important an economy is to this game. It's not going to be an MMO. People are not going to care about this game if you don't make it cohesive. If you don't give players a reason to do things. And hey, ship progression is just never going to be there because you can buy ships. And that's just a reality, and we have to move on, okay? Ship progression is not endgame, period. We have to accept that, and we have to move on, and we have to build in new systems that are going to make players want to play this game. And the economy is a huge part of that, okay? Building bases, building up orgs, gaining influence. These things are going to be what players strive for moving forward, not just ships. And you have to build them out, and you have to start somewhere. And after 10 years, you know, they're finally starting now. So I'm insanely excited about what this game can be now that they're really starting to take the economy more seriously.
General balancing algorithm we've developed that takes into account the time and the difficulty of what you're doing, and it gives you a reward that is appropriate for that.
Okay.
So if you do something that takes a long time but isn't very difficult, or if you do something that takes a short time but is very difficult, you're going to get appropriately rewarded. So obviously this kind of thing, effort and reward, isn't a new concept. It's been around since the beginning of computer games. But as the economy team moves forwards and we work on all of the exciting new features that are coming out, we're really happy to be able to bring this kind of coherent approach to the entire game economy.
In the end, cargo hauling missions aren't about how good you are at shooting the bad guys. It's about figuring out which hauls the universe needs. And ultimately, it's about having fun delivering some boxes. Thanks for watching.
Amen. Thank you. Well done. Well said. I like that. I like that a lot. Listen, this was a good episode of ISC. I liked everything that they said. You know, we'll see how the Blockade Runner dynamic event works out. I honestly think it sounds a little too hectic. I think it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But I think for a lot of people, it's going to be exciting. I just wish that we would get an economy dynamic event. And let me just lay it out for you. And this is what I said before, is you make an event which says that we need X, Y, and Z to do this thing to get to another phase. You have the players go out and you know, move that you know, material around, and then that initiates the next phase. Now, the problematic side of that is people stocking up. So again, at the end of the day, you just don't give the players a heads up, and that's what really makes it a dynamic event. And these events haven't really been dynamic events because they're basically just they'll post a time when the event gets turned on, and then everybody just prepares to play then. And that's not dynamic. Of course, that's just them manually pushing a button and turning on the event. So CIG just kind of needs to make it be like, okay, the dynamic part of this is the players engaging with the economy, engaging with these cargo missions, to where the economy gets to a threshold where, okay, you're moving so much of this particular cargo, whatever, it gets to a certain price point, and then that initiates you know, a bunch of pirates coming out and doing this and that. That's, you know, more dynamic. But then again, we need the cargo missions first before they can make something like that happen. But again, that's just an idea I'm throwing out there. I think that you know, Blockade Runner is going to be very exciting for a lot of people. I am, of course, going to play it. Always excited when a dynamic event comes out, especially a new one. So we'll see. And then cargo missions, I'm insanely excited about cargo missions. You know, I want to make a whole nother video, you know, talking about all of my ideas surrounding, you know, cargo missions, the future of trading, that type of stuff. So stay tuned for that. But I think this was a great episode of ISC. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Sorry this was a little bit longer of a video, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me here again, making these videos, making these reactions, sharing my opinions with you guys. I love hearing your opinions as well in the comments, so let me know what you think. But that's going to be it for me here today, you guys. Like I always say at the end of these videos, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Salut!